sack of fucknuts doing in here?
Tiny girl is such an interesting choice.
No, I'm real.
She wants to wipe us off the face of the earth. They all do.
Do you like attacking your own kind?
No,
You heard it up top. We are once again talking about those soups that like to get super fucked up. Except this time we're talking about their kids because we're talking Gen V, the Amazon Prime The Boys spin-off series here on Normies Like Us with your hosts, Little Colin.
This is Tech Mike. We're going to get to the whole truth today about this show.
Wow.
And this is Coblander.
Oh, wow.
Named after
appearance.
the best hero. He's done nothing wrong.
He's
Yeah.
showed up right at the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like Coblander.
All
Technically in the show.
Technically in the show, spoiler for all of season 1. 8 episodes, right, for this? Spin-off of The Boys, like we said, Gen V. Compound
That's
V
right.
being the drug that makes the supers in The Boys universe.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. I was interested in this show because, I didn't know if it was going to be good. I was interested in checking it out. I was like, is a Boys spinoff going to be good? Or is it going to be different enough from The Boys to really be worth watching? And I think we'll answer that question here today. But what's your guys' feeling about The Boys and Gen V right now?
Right. So as you said, it's a spin-off. And I've been kind of skeptical. We're getting a couple of these with like the Continental coming out for the John Wick universe. And it's like, I kind of have no interest. But you suggested it, and we're getting out of spooky season. It's like, you know what? I could throw on the first couple episodes and we'll get into it. But maybe I was pleasantly surprised, and we'll get into it. But I was very cold going in. So
yes,
that says a lot.
I felt the same way. And that's why I wanted to watch it to see if it could justify its own existence, being different enough from The Boys where it's like it's not just doing the same thing as The Boys. And I think it does because it's a little more X-Men-y, right? Because it's taking place in a school. It's a group of superpowered young individuals, and I think it's a lot of fun. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Right. And I would wonder if superhero fatigue would affect any of this too, because it's like, man, too much superhero. But Colin, how did you feel going into this? Yeah.
Well, Mike, if this was the old days where you were blowing the dust off a VHS tape that you hadn't touched, it would have been as I blow off the old Amazon Prime app and I shuffle over to it. Because another question I have for you guys, like none of us do like a Citadel or like what are the other Amazon shows?
The
right?
Peripheral, dog. I've been talking about the Peripheral
Yeah.
for
Cyber, but I have not. No,
I haven't seen
Mike
it.
is supposed to watch that. It's
It's
That's
the one
William
cyberpunk
Gibson,
media
yeah.
I'm avoiding. Yeah, and it's William Gibson. I don't know why.
But basically, I don't use Prime if I'm not watching The Boys, it seems like. So it seems like the last time I watched it was probably season 3.
Yeah.
There's been some movies I watched on there and stuff. I'll check out different streaming sites to see what. Well, during spooky season, I think there was a couple that were streaming on
Sure.
Prime that I checked out. I will say Invincible has just come back, and
correct.
so the other Amazon show about how superheroes are bad. So I watched the first episode of that new season the other day.
People forget that they had the tick too. I mean, Amazon is so weird.
Yeah.
When Mike says like this reaction of like, is there too much superhero stuff? Like, one, Amazon does not seem to think so, and two, given what The Boys is, which seems like parody, and Jacob, you brought up X-Men. I think we'll talk about that a lot in a bit. But you almost look at it and go like, well, would a spin-off show of The Boys be a parody of like the Disney Plus streaming shows that are like a spin-off of the MCU, which The Boys is kind of a parody of? Like it brings up a lot of questions that I think we'll talk about. On how successful it is answering.
Well, and Amazon seems to say there isn't too much superhero stuff, but in fact, we're only going to make superhero stuff that is parodying superheroes, but also good in its own way. Like it's a parody, but you can buy into the world as a legit thing, right?
It's like Scream. It's a meta commentary on the genre, doing its own thing while like kind of acknowledging the trappings and tropes of the genre. It's clever in that way. Also, Amazon made Lord of the Rings. They don't think there's enough of the thing that we have literally enough of, ever.
Yes.
We have enough Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings is a superhero show, Mike.
It is not. Yeah, basically. Anyway,
And I will say,
so it's just The Boys and Invincible for me. And answer your question,
yeah.
I do Jack Reacher. Yeah.
Is that a superhero?
Jack Reacher. I haven't checked that out yet. But yeah, Invincible is back. I will be probably watching that. I enjoyed the first season of that.
Episode 1 was good, but we have a watch it coming up, so we'll hold. But I watched
Yeah.
first episode as well. I thought, hey, here we go.
For sure. But I'm excited to jump into Gen V, Godolphin University, right?
Wow.
Yeah, we're gonna be late for class. Maybe we should just jump right into it.
We're back. We're here on Normies Like Us.
On campus.
That's right. We are on campus. We're walking around. We're in our little safe space, Mike, because we're talking the Boys spinoff, Gen V, the Jacob, you brought up the V for Vought, but of course the play there, of course, is it's a very Gen X satirized Gen V,
Gen Z, I think.
Or Gen Z, yes. I apologize. Yes, Gen Z.
Gen Z, the generation younger than millennials, of course. Millennials used to be known as the young generation. We've aged out of that. Now it's all about Gen V or Gen Z. And that's kind of what
Boomers.
Yeah. And The Boys, obviously, a lot of its parody deals with current events and social issues and that kind of thing. And this show is very similar in that way. But I wanted to ask you guys, now, obviously, there's a lot of the characters in this show have powers that are kind of topical, and they're touching on social issues, right? So we have the eating disorder girl, who's basically her superpower is an eating disorder, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have the transgender, literal transgender who can just go between male and female. That's their power, right?
Yes,
non-binary. Yeah. Do you guys have any idea for what your superpower would be within the world of The Boys, where it would have some kind of social issue relevance
with some constraint? And you think about it's not like, I don't know, it's not like Homelander has to jack off to use something, but you think about Huey had a weird limitation where it seemed like he would have to squeeze his butt to teleport naked. There is this instance of these weird constraints to these powers.
Well, a lot of them they're like monkey's paws, where you have a power but you have some weird rule to it, right? Where you can get small, but you have to purge whatever you just ate, and you have to throw up to get smaller,
or you have to overeat.
The Deep
to grow
has
big.
Body.
Shaming. He has body. He doesn't. Yeah, he has body.
He's got gills. He's very self-conscious about his gills, right?
Yeah. So there's.
I was thinking. I was trying to think if I could have some power where I could cancel people. I don't know what canceling would be exactly, but it would be probably murdering them gruesomely somehow. But
and then of course we said the date rape power is absolutely one as well. Which
right. That character. That's what he fucking deserves. But yeah, there's some interesting stuff they're doing, especially with, I call it a souphoria. It is that Gen Z kind of party
vibe.
Souphoria is good, Mike. I like that.
Love that.
On top of the X-Men that it's built, the foundation is X-Men, and then the angle is souphoria. Yeah.
It's like,
Zendaya, did you go to class this week? Also,
my boyfriend is a spider.
Beams out of your eyes.
Right. We're all doing coke, and then, whatever. But
then Spider-Man shows up.
Yeah.
That is how my dad, when he watches the show, which he did, he talks about it in a very similar way. And that's sort of how I pitched it to him too, was kind of everybody's young and has edgy shit to their powers, and it is what it is.
I think that's the way I even pitched it when I was talking in our chat. I was like, it's like X-Men, but if they were all fucked up, because it's still the Boys universe.
Now, and let's talk about that very intentionally now and say the history, of course. Now, The Boys is an independent comic book. It's through the company Dynamite, and it's made by Irish comic book writer and artist Garth Ennis, who's most known probably for Preacher as well. And then when Marvel did their one swing at being super serious, he did the Punisher Max series, which was when Punisher would be like, fuck you, I'm gonna
subscribe
shoot
to
you
HBO
with a gun. Yeah, exactly. You're like,
Punisher Max,
the particular arc, now the way that The Boys is written out, there is one core story, but then of course they'll do these annual sort of spin-offs, which will include things like Herogasm, which we've seen adapted now, includes arcs such as the very famous G-Men arc. Now, in the comic books, there is Dr. Godolphin. He is the leader of the G-Men, a group of teen freaks with superpowers, where one has like hammers for hands, not claws like a Wolverine. Like,
Right.
are you guys seeing these very incredibly hard to understand metaphors? And
Yeah.
Sure.
you know, it sucks. It
Yeah.
basically involves Huey, the main character, who of course is the main character of the show as well, infiltrating this group, where you find out that Dr. Godolkin is basically like everything in the boys' universe, as I've pitched before. It's so edgy because it's so post
Yes.
9/11, just raping and molesting all of the kids. Like, it just absolutely sucks.
Well, and
And then the
especially,
boys killing him one by
yeah.
one, basically.
Now, I haven't read the comics or anything, but
Yeah.
just from reputation, I know that one, there's some significant differences in adapting to the show that they've had in the 4 seasons that, or 3 or 4 seasons that they've done so far. But also, a lot of people that I know who have read the comics just say like the show's better. Like they basically
Throw it
took
away.
all the good ideas from the comics
Yeah.
and then just changed everything else and made it better in a lot of ways. The comics is
I'm
just
better.
trying too hard to be edgy,
Yeah.
and I think the show really refines the concept and makes it more, again, socially relevant and stuff with current
Yeah.
events and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the good idea of the comics, Jacob, was what if the Justice League were celebrities, which I think is a really cool way to enter into a world of superheroes. And then from there, they do the evil Superman thing. Like, we get Homelander, Mike. Like, they do
Yeah.
the obvious comic book stuff.
Yeah, we have a
Right.
Batman analog in the boys, but to bring it back to the Gen V side, this did give me vibes, as you say. We have like a, maybe there's a sinister plot at the school and stuff, but it made me think of another X-Men thing that really never went anywhere, and that was the New Mutants set in a
Sure.
hospital. We're helping you kind of thing, and then maybe not. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like doing a better version of New Mutants angle. Like, here's a safe space for you. And also
True.
the fact that they look up to the Seven as celebrities, as you were saying, Colin, and their dream is to just be famous too. They're all climbing the social ladder. That's a big part of the show, and it's like that kind of
Right.
relates to what's going on now, where every kid wants to be an influencer, get famous. Like,
They have the
they
school
all want to be up
rankings.
there. Yeah.
And Marie's not allowed to take a 101 class because she doesn't have any Twitter followers.
Right.
Yeah. Like the social when people have their
It's really
mind
commenting
blown
on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Like Maria's just doing something out of the kindness of her heart. Her main character we'll get into, but like people have their mind blown that someone's just being a good person without trying to gamify it for social media, and I think that's an interesting commentary.
Yeah. And we also know, having seen these previous seasons of The Boys, we already know about Vought, that they're doing all this evil shit behind the scenes. So we have that context going into this show, and we see kind of the pipeline of how they take young soups and basically make them evil or make them not really care about basic human like emotions, because they're just kind of, that's just drilled out of them through this school process, to where they, once they get to the Seven, they're already like soulless sellout, corporate
Tools.
entities, basically.
Yes, and so we know that, and also there's like a for-profit motive we saw with Starlight's parents of like even giving your kids Compound V is kind of like a fucked up thing too. So like some of these kids are already kind of victims just being at the school because they didn't have a choice of getting powers or not.
And I want to say regarding the X-Men thing, another way that it's a lot like the X-Men, not only does it take place in a school and it's this group of superpowered young adults and all this stuff, and there's all the young adult drama that comes with that, but also just the whole, in every soup's life, there's a time where you either have to choose to become, you have to take the the Magneto approach, or the Professor X
Xavier.
approach. So you can either do the Magneto thing or be more peaceful, right? And we have that in this show, where we have, by the end of it, this
choice to be
group of
made.
friends is kind of splitting because we'll go
Join
into
the
the plot and
Brotherhood.
everything. Yeah.
You have the Brotherhood and the Xavier X-Men, basically.
And I think the point of the show is kind of that there's bad people on both sides who have done things on both sides. Yeah.
I think to what Mike was kind of saying, I think it's a very conscious plot to really go, hey, The Boys is about the fallout of these gods on us mere humans. Whereas Gen V, very interestingly, takes the opposite approach of, here is the machinations of man that led to the creations of these gods and how much it has fucked them up.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, is that The Boys, mainly the protagonists are normal humans, right? Except for a couple, superpowered individual, Starlight, obviously.
Kimiko.
Kimiko. But whereas Gen V is exclusively about superpowered people. So you're seeing their perspective on it, and you're seeing they have to make that choice. Like, you know what, we are superior. We're going to be Magneto basically and kill a bunch of innocent people, or no, we need to use our superpowers to help people for good. But then we have, of course, this plot of the Normies trying to develop, spoiler alert, a virus that can wipe out all superheroes, right? So
yeah,
bad things on both sides.
Very X-Men plots, but also I think again the commentaries, the X-Men was obviously a big metaphor for gay rights and stuff. We saw in the number 2. Have you tried not being a mutant? That kind of stuff. So we're always doing social commentary, with these characters too. So.
And here's what sucks. And let's talk about this before we dive into the whole big thing. I guess let's
the framing.
We'll get into the real plot of it. But let's say while we finish up our X-Men talk here, Mike, you were kind of texting this. I'd love for you to just straight up explore it, which is like Marvel is not going to be able to explore those themes in the same way that like this show did, where it's like we said, there is a transgender character, there are characters talking about body issues, bulimia, binging, purging, things like that. Where like recently in the comics they made like Iceman gay, and I guarantee Marvel Studios is going to be jumping over every hurdle on the planet to be like, he has a boyfriend, but it's kind of like he doesn't say that, but he like holds hands with a guy like in the background of a scene, and you don't see that.
Right.
Meanwhile, in this, we saw a tiny woman ride a penis, basically. And we saw what it really meant to be a young person with powers. And Marvel's never going to do that.
No.
Marvel, they're trying to please too many audiences. They have to placate the Chinese market, obviously, with certain LGBT stuff. They have to kind of tread that line, but they also want to have representation, because then they can put that in their marketing and say, oh, we have the first gay superhero, whatever. So they're too big of a corporation to really, and Amazon obviously is a huge corporation as well, but at least they're willing to like let this show do its own thing and not be worried about the repercussions like financially, right?
Yeah. And it's always an adolescent metaphor with the X-Men. Who am I? Who am I becoming? Am I comfortable with that, right? And what do I do with this weird body that I have now? So it's all ties in, but they're able to look at kind of the real hard and like hardcore, as the boys does, issues that people are dealing with,
Mm-hmm.
substance abuse, etc. Right? So that's the framing. Like I said, Souphoria, Dark X-Men.
Cyclops does cocaine in the fucking Marvel movie, I will lose my mind. Just as a big light, he's just like, I gotta fire this beam.
Yeah, what's the big vice? Colossus is creatine. Anyway.
But let's should we talk
here.
about some of the characters that we're following here?
Yeah.
Of course, we have our protagonist, Marie Moreau, right?
Yeah.
And she's got some blood powers. And I like her origin story too. It's very Rogue-esque in the X-Men movies, where she accidentally kills her parents by on the day that she discovers her powers, and she can't control them quite yet. And that's kind of like her tragic backstory, right?
Yeah. And she has to hide that from people at first. We kind of it comes to light as the episodes go on. She doesn't really broadcast it. Oh yeah, I couldn't control my powers, and that's why I'm dead. But it's something she has to wrestle with. I do like
a
her
lot
powers,
like the Rogue in the movies, where she kills her boyfriend or something by touching him, right?
They're kissing.
Very often, that's of course in that scene like a sexual activation, but very often in the X-Men comics, it's obviously brought on by puberty, the mutation gene. They call it out in this.
Right.
When I was shut up with Gen V, didn't hit when I was a baby. It was when I had my first period. So again, we're tying it to these issues. Watching a young black woman on television, have her period. You don't see that in a lot of stuff too. So I'm again like, wow, this is great. And then she has hemokinesis, Jacob. She can control blood.
Yeah,
so
which has a lot more uses than you would think. Yeah,
boy,
I like this power a lot
on my list.
I want Jacob, this one.
Mike, come on.
I think
her first period blood is she has her period.
Right.
She shoots that period. It hits her mom in the neck. It slits her mom's throat. Her mom dies. The dad comes in. What'd you do? She screams. She blows her mom's corpse up, almost crystallizing the blood into shrapnels. Kills the dad as well. That is wild.
That's terrifying. I don't want that experience, but I wouldn't mind the blood power. Like it's
I think the power
has
itself
utility.
is pretty interesting.
But it is.
I mean, she can do everything with it.
But again, it's showing this. Not only do normals have these traumatic run-ins with superpowers, because again and again in the boys' universe, you see the fallout that is left in the wake of these superpowers. The whole inciting incident of the show is A-Train running through Huey's girlfriend and just fucking exploding her, right? And now we have young superpowered individuals discovering their first powers and accidentally killing family members, or with Kate, the person who can persuade people, she tells her brother to go away and never come back, and he literally does. And
it's like a Jean Grey vibe / Rogue, because she has to wear gloves.
Yeah,
right? But yeah, that's great. So as Colin said, it's a coming of age, but it's also dealing with like overcoming like traumas, right? And every character has like a trauma that they're trying to overcome. Like every main character has something that they're dealing with, up to the point where we learn all that near the end of the series. They're kind of going through it together. Absolutely.
And I would say one of the other big themes of the show is that hurt people, right? That saying.
Yes.
Because you have Shetty, the dean of the college, who obviously is behind this whole plot. We find out her motivation is that her family was killed by Homelander in that plane incident from season 1. And so you have her, she has a traumatic event in her past that she wants revenge for. Then you have Sam, the character of Sam. He has traumatic. So everyone, is hurt by someone else, and it's just a repeating pattern over and over, right?
Yep.
And that's the world we live in.
Right. And it's not fair. It's not good, but we can tell stories that help people kind of figure it out if they can see some of themselves in these characters, right? So like sometimes you can't talk about the hard shit without talking about the hard shit sometimes. So it uses a dark sense of humor at times and stuff to do it. But yeah, all these characters have stuff that they're going through. And I really liked each of these characters if we want to keep kind of going through them and what their deals are.
So of course we have Marie Moreau. We're introduced to the #1 hero on the school rankings, right? Golden Boy.
Yes.
Here's the thing, y'all.
Yeah.
So I've said it.
Are you familiar with this actor, Colin?
Said 1,000 times on this podcast. My #1, my big boy, the love of my life. I'm looking up at some posters with him on it right now. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now this is of course Luke, I believe, Golden Boy, right? They call this character. This is Luke. Patrick Schwarzenegger. Maybe his oldest son. He has 2 sons, 2 daughters. Now, this kid, he's Marie Shriver, the Kennedys.
Kennedy, half Schwarzenegger.
Kennedy, half
Schwarzenegger.
That's his bloodlines, basically.
Doesn't he look like one of those dogs that you're like, wow, that dog is so beautiful, and it's like a German Shepherd, and the owner's like, thank you, it's the most beautiful dog I've ever had. If it moves, all of its joints will break. It's going to die at 10 years old, like a Great Dane, where you're like, oh no, it's inbred, like it's like sick somehow.
It's interesting because he doesn't have really the build of his dad. Like he's not a bodybuilder, obviously, but he's not ripped like his dad. Obviously, he's more of a slender guy. He's like a good-looking guy, but I wouldn't say he's like super handsome or anything. Right?
No, are you guys familiar with the child that he sired with his longtime housekeeper? Joseph Bainez is his illegitimate son's name. Now that is Arnold Schwarzenegger to a T. Unfortunately, that kid got all of Arnold. This kid, Patrick Schwarzenegger, he got it's almost like the King Charles genes, where you look at him and you're like, no.
He doesn't have a very. He's got kind of a weak chin. Not to insult his appearance too much.
I'm fully dragging him. I think this kid, he has no charisma.
He's got some of that Kennedy gene.
He has the worst delivery. At one point, he has to say the line of even if you didn't have this shot and you think it gives you, crazy, it makes you bipolar or whatever, it's like, even if you didn't have that, you'd still be weird. And you're like, oh my God, you guys don't go off like brothers at all. You're a weirdo.
Now, of course, this character, spoiler alert again for the show, obviously, but this character is killed in the first episode of the show, but he's introduced as sort of going to be like the star of the school and stuff. But he finds
I
out
bet Arnold was so
some shit.
upset.
Well, they say
That's in
he's
the
going
whole
to be.
thing. Oh,
He's supposed to be, yeah, right. Stronger than
did you take
Homelander.
these?
Right. It's Gold's
Yes.
gym, Golden Boy. Come on.
Oh, Mike.
He pumped himself up.
Oh,
But
I love
so
it.
so he is framed to be the new Homelander, but I do think
Yes.
casting him off type, he's not like the stone-chinned, big buff McBuffster. It's like the
No.
powers just be the powers, dog. Like it's
Yeah.
And he's Human Torch.
Yes, but he also has super strength, and I think a lot of
He can fly,
superheroes
he
in
has
this world
super
just also
strength.
have super strength and stuff. But
Right.
he's one of the
Or
strongest.
durability.
Yeah.
And then of course his brother that we find out about, Sam, is even stronger than him apparently, and he has kind of a super strength thing.
Well, but we also
Yeah.
know that, and again, this is all spoilers, but we also know that they're like using his blood to augment Luke's power. So maybe he doesn't even have super strength. Maybe he's just getting it from the brother. I
Because Sam
guess.
is mentally unstable. They don't want to deal with Sam in the corporate world, so they kind of the mystery is happening. Spoilers, like Colin said, but
Yes.
that's the plot.
There's
They've
a lot
been
of
using
mystery. We'll get
Sam's
to it.
blood to juice up their Golden Boy, who's been
Yeah.
Well, again,
being
Sam
positioned.
Which you
has
can
kind of that
do?
monkey paw where he has these super strong
related.
powers, but he's also has like mental illness. So
Schizophrenia.
they decide to
or-
lock
yeah.
him up because he's basically Homelander, but insane. Well, Homelander's kind of insane too, but Homelander's like a sociopath. Like Sam is just like very mentally ill young man who
You could point Homelander where you want him to be, more or less, generally, until
Yeah.
you can't. But like that was what they did. But yeah, Sam is, they figured, too unstable again because it's all the construct of it. It's a feeder system for Vought anyway. It's like, yeah, no, screw it. So he's down in the woods. But Luke learns some crazy shit.
yes.
And then he ends up unaliving himself, which is also a very serious thing to do
Yes.
in the first episode.
Well, we should say, let's round out the introduction. So we have Marie Moreau, new student coming in. We meet kind of the clique of Luke, who's like the number one Golden Boy. We have his girlfriend Kate, who is a mind reader / pusher, where she can convince people to do things by just touching them and saying something to them.
Like rumor in
Yeah,
Umbrella.
but also some like Professor X type powers where she can like read minds and stuff. So she's.
You guys see the Chris Evans Dakota Fanning movie Push, where she is a pusher?
No,
I haven't.
Okay.
Terrible.
But so it's we have her roommate. Marie's roommate is Emma Meyer. This is a little cricket. She can get small. She has the purging mechanism.
Yes. So she's essentially
and mother
Ant-Man,
issues.
but in order to get big or small, it's food related. So if she wants to get big, which she finds out later, she can just eat some food, a lot of food or something, and gets bigger. If she wants to get small, she has to make herself throw up to get small.
And it was her mother would always pressure her to not get big because that's weird, which is a body shaming thing. So that's kind of.
And I thought this was a really clever way to do that. Like basically, you're Ant-Man, but you're Ant-Man with an eating disorder, and how it ties into this stuff is like really smart.
And her self-esteem and stuff. She wants to be on YouTube, and it's like she doesn't like feeling small. She's literally small. It's like very clever,
And in the boys' world, of course. Yeah. A lot of the superheroes that can't quite cut it on the crime fighting level will try to have a career in Hollywood instead, in show business, because you can do different things or whatever. So basically in Godalkin University, there's two career paths. You can either do the crime fighting path, which could possibly lead to being in the Seven or a smaller group or something like that, or the show business route. And so that's what she's kind of gone down, because she doesn't think that she's like a crime fighter.
A reality TV show. That'll be the height of what I do. I couldn't save anyone. And Emma, let's shout out. We haven't been singing to the actors, but Lizzie Broadway. This is my favorite performance.
She's my favorite.
She's great. Yeah. And when she meets Sam,
she's done nothing wrong.
Love cricket.
I was really into like her and Sam meeting and kind of becoming a relationship. I was like, that's really cute and stuff, and that's why it's so tragic at the end of the season, right?
Yeah.
Right. But so we talked about then Golden Boy is the number one. The number two is Jordan Lee, which is our non-binary, very strong person.
They, them. Yeah.
Let's talk about
they, them superhero. Yeah.
I like Jordan a lot, actually. I like this character a lot.
And this is my follow-up.
And I like their relationship with Marie a lot.
Anytime Jordan's on the screen, I'm like, more Jordan. This is great.
I think this is great.
It's really interesting because when you first meet them, you kind of hate them at first because they are adversarial to Marie at first, but then over time you kind of understand where they're coming from, and her and Marie, or they and Marie, develop this relationship. But it's interesting, and when you first meet their parents, it's really interesting too, because basically, from what I could gather, they were born a boy, but then found that they had the power to transition between male and female. Their dad obviously wanted them to just be male, pretty much all the time, and calls them their son and all this stuff, and is really pressuring them just to be a male. But also the male and female forms have different powers, right?
Yes. Yeah. It seems like the boy's indestructible and the girl shoots beams. They've been training
waves
to sort
or
of
something. Yeah.
switch as fast as possible. Yeah, to sort of like heighten their ability.
So both have their pros and cons. Seems like they prefer to be in the female form more often.
So let's shout this out though, because it's two different actors. It's Derek Liu as the male. It's London Thor as the female. Anytime Derek Liu's on the screen, I'm going, boo! Get this guy out of here! Bring back London Thor. She is killing it, I think, as the female Jordan. I love this performance.
Yeah,
it's very nuanced. Really because again,
it's a hard character to accomplish. Like just to do it. So way to go.
Because they're introduced as this adversary to Marie. They're the TA for Professor Brink.
Who, number 2 rank.
Yeah. They're kind of, they're keeping Marie out of the crime fighting class, all this stuff. You see them just kind of being just an asshole, basically, to Marie. But over time you see that, they're like very self-conscious about their position within the school, and like, wanting to be highly ranked and all this stuff. And you just see once you meet their parents, it's like, it's just a very nuanced role.
Right. And there's a lot of pressure to succeed coming from that too. So it's like, because like, I think with Golden Boy there, Jordan always felt like, I can't be number 1 anyway, but my parents want me to succeed. So they're in this between a rock and a hard place, So and I like it. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I should say, they very clearly state at one point, like, whether they've been told or not, or testing or whatever, but said like a gender flipping superhero is not going to play on the 7. Like, you're not going to be playing to Nebraska.
Right.
So they are aware of their situation. Yes.
And again, that's the whole branding thing that people that today, people who want to be TikTokers or whatever, they need their niche, and if they're too weird or whatever for middle America, like they're going to get rejected. And Vought obviously is very conscious of marketing and all these things, so it's really touching on that.
And that ends up being kind of Marie's issue too, because they're like, look, a black woman who uses blood powers, like that's not going to fly anywhere, right? Like how are you doing that heroic? And so that's kind of how Jordan and Marie bond, is like they both are like, there's no market for us. We have no place, right? We don't belong, right? And that's kind of part of the show too, is like everyone should belong, right? And so we're exploring kind of them finding that, every character finding that, that acceptance in themselves, right? Which I love. I love it.
Yeah,
I love misfits.
Dude,
I'm attracted to people who feel like they don't fit, and I like when they find out that they do. So I like this.
And that's the whole X-Men of it all. And to round out the main characters, we have Andre, who is Luke's best friend / banging his girlfriend. But basically, Andre's dad is a famous superhero named Polarity. So he's Polarity Jr., essentially. He has the same powers as his dad, and he has got this whole the weight of that bearing down on him, and expectations from his dad.
Magnetos. Is that they have metal power?
I think they can move metal. It seems. Yeah.
I thought it was telekinesis, but it is magnet.
Polarity is like the magnetic polarity of something, right? So, but then later on they find out that their powers are actually like causing micro tears in their brain, which is causing his dad to have seizures and stuff. He's like, you can't use your powers anymore. That's a whole thing.
Another drawback. Every person on this is a drawback to their powers.
Yeah.
I think Andre is okay. He's an interesting character. Not my favorite, but he is pretty important to the overall plot and everything.
He raises questions for me. They've been taking Gen V since Soldier Boy time, so World War II. We've just now disclosed somehow, the whole world agreed this like universal like NDA of like, we won't spill the secret. But it finally did come out that everybody has been paying to have their kids pumped with this stuff.
Right.
And sometimes it gives you the same powers that your dad had. That's cool.
Yeah, sometimes it
I like
passes on
that.
powers. I don't know.
Well,
I
maybe
guess
the
because he's
activating
a
gene is the same that was passed down. Who knows?
Himiko's
Yeah.
brother could push and like pull and like he was like telekinetic.
One thing about this, if you're a second generation superpowered individual, so you're born by someone who had already had powers and then also injected with Gen V, so or maybe you can get it if you pass it on, you get different powers.
Big deal that Ryan Homelander's kid has powers, but then Translucent Sun is like a major character in this season too.
That's
and has
true.
Translucent's powers.
So I'm thinking you can pass on, you can pass on powers, or you can get injected Compound V as a kid, and then it's just kind of random what powers you get, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
I guess.
Or maybe
it's not explained very well, but
it seemed like a big deal that Ryan had his powers. Everybody was like, "Well, a kid with powers, that's nuts."
Well, just that he had Homelander powers because they're so strong and so much better than everyone else's. That
Sure.
But he was young. But I guess Translucent Sun having the same powers is like either whatever, and this is just a stupid hypothesis we can have, and it's like either you're born and because there's a dominant gene that you will have blonde hair, like a dominant gene that you will be invisible power, it's just passed down when you get injected, or you're born with it. Doesn't matter, but there does seem to be some type of trait inheritance going on with Andre and that. So I don't know.
Or give me the same cocktail. I'll take Gen V, new Gen V, or not old Gen V.
The exact formula, original, whatever my dad had. Yeah,
right.
Gen V blue. Clear, crystal Gen V.
Yes, crystal Gen V.
So
that's
Marie is a new student. Yeah.
Yes.
She kind of meets all these are kind of all friends already. They're kind of the popular kids at school or something. So she goes out partying with them one night, and that's sort of the inciting incident where things go wrong. Someone gets accidentally killed because the soups can't control their powers because they're soups, of course. Yeah.
Partying,
She tries to save, or she does save someone who's bleeding out, basically, right? If I'm remembering correctly. And then basically the university is like, well, we're kicking you out because you shouldn't have saved that person because you're causing more problems. Then a bunch of stuff happens. They end up marketing her as the guardian of Godolkin. This is all just getting into just plot stuff that I'm trying to half remember, but
Well, they're trying to make it not look like Golden Boy killed himself, right? They're like, oh, we need someone to have defeated Golden Boy. This kid can't run with this story, right?
So we talked about the Dean Shetty for a second, but Clancy Brown, amazing character actor, one of the greatest, plays this character Brink, who's also this professor and lecturer. Jacob, you mentioned it before that Jordan is the TA to this character. And there's this conspiracy. Golden Boy went in, talked to Brink. I know about the woods. That's being thrown around a lot. I know about this secret stuff that's going on at the school. I have a brother. You do? No, calm down. Kills him. Golden Boy goes crazy. Kills himself in the end of it after Marie kind of tries to fight, but really it's Jordan who does the bulk of the fighting. But again, the press being the big thing. We end that big first episode with this twist of, let's get Patrick Schwarzenegger out here, and instead of expelling Marie, let's brand her a hero. Which it's a cool bite to make you go like, I will keep coming back to this.
Yeah,
although I think we got 2 to start.
Yeah, and Luke of course has a brother named Sam. He was told that Sam died years ago or something, but really they've been keeping him in this underground facility called the Woods that's under the school, where they're doing experiments on soups. And as we find out later, they're creating a virus that can kill soups using Sam's blood somehow. But basically, Sam is an even more powerful version of Luke, who has mental illness, hard to control. And Luke, they're just trying to placate him. So they tell him his brother's dead. He finds out all this stuff, goes to Professor Brink, who's supposed to be this great guy who's a friend to all the kids and stuff, but really knew about all these secrets. He kills Brink. Marie and Jordan witness this, don't really understand what's going on, except that Luke is kind of going crazy. And then, like you said, Luke kills himself.
Kind of out of grief. And the other mechanism, too, that's really sinister is his girlfriend is Kate. And because of her mind powers, it's revealed that she's been part of this, working with Shetty, like wiping his mind to make him forget that, he had a brother, or that the woods exist whenever he finds stuff out.
Yeah, Kate's a really interesting character because over time you understand kind of why she did everything she did, even if you don't agree with it. You see the reasons and how she was raised, and then how
Mhm.
Shetty came to her and said, like, it's not your fault, blah blah blah. She was kind of manipulated in her own way, and then later goes the extreme other way and says, this is fucked up, like Shetty's been lying to me and all this stuff, and then ends up on the super superior side right at the end of the season.
She's on the and the Brotherhood, so to speak.
Yeah,
That's right.
But it's crazy, like when as it all unfolds, like the amount of you see just how sinister the school is willing to be to even utilize the students against one another. Like you will mind wipe other students for us, and we'll just say it's it's all for the greater
yeah.
good. It's pretty.
And having to lie to your boyfriend and say that everything's okay and that you shouldn't worry and stuff and all this stuff, and hiding all this. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Heavy moral questions. There's also, like we said, rape, all this horrible stuff that, heavy, dark themes and materials as well.
Mhm.
And then narratively, every episode pretty much ends with the same sort of twist, sort of like keep you coming back. It is like a mystery show as it's evolving.
Yeah.
So important to kind of point out real quick. I will say, Jacob, you and I probably streamed this week to week, right? I think that's how we did it. But Mike, did you do this
Mostly, yeah.
all in one shot, Mike?
I did it in one shot. Yeah, it was really, really good.
Even the finale, it was all out
No.
when you watched it.
I got to
okay.
7
Finale
and I
came
had
out
to
You
on
wait
did
for
have to
the
wait
finale.
for something.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
that's
waited 1
cool.
week.
That's good.
That's right.
But that's something to wait for because it is an interesting way. Because I would be curious how your reactions were to some stuff like the mind wipe after all the big stuff that had been set up all season. When that occurred, and I had to wait the next week for the next episode, I was jumping on the boys subreddit where people were like, "What the fuck just happened? I want to go back to Big Emma. Give me give me
Yeah.
good
Well,
stuff."
All this
It was
character
shocking.
development we get was just ripped away from us, right? Like the relationship
Yeah.
with Jordan and Maria, Big Emma, like all that is just removed.
It's gone.
They don't even know each
They just
other.
take it.
All
and
their
they have
camaraderie-
to,
yeah,
and they have to kind of discover what's going on. But I will say, it gave us one of the best episodes, in my opinion, which was the episode where they're in Kate's brain, basically, and they're all going through their like individual traumas. I thought that was a really good episode.
Yeah.
And that's when
Persona
you get
4
Soldier
has
Boy
a mechanism
cameo and all
like that.
I was gonna say you just like Jetson.
Yeah.
You're
I'm no
my
Kami.
supernatural daddy. How are you?
Right. I got to see his brother in Friday the 13th, then we saw Jensen in this one. It was great.
That's right.
But Mike, do you prefer streaming or week to week stuff? Because in The Boys has always been a week to week show, and if you guys recall, in the later seasons, people were like, "I deserve to have all this at once." Why does this blah blah? But I always like how it unfolds week to week. How about you, Mike?
I do like the week to week. Honestly, me and my cousin, we will do like the Amazon watch party, like over the internet. That's our thing.
Okay.
We'll watch The Boys the evening it comes out. We'll hop on and like voice chat, and that's a
cool.
week to week thing.
Like
so then we
that.
get to talk like, what do you think's going to happen next week? It's very fun. I like that format.
Yeah.
But I can also binge
like week to
14
week.
Grudges. So,
Well, and again, you just took a huge trip. You were while this show was coming out.
yeah. So I had
my only
backlog.
my only take about week to week versus all at once is that I think Netflix kind of ruined the whole cultural relevance of certain shows where if the whole season drops at once, you finish it in like a day or 2 days, and then no one's talking about it a week from now because everyone's watched it already. Whereas if you have the week to week model, you have the water cooler talk. Like when Game of Thrones was at its height, people were talking about this week's episode and that kind of thing. You don't really get that when the whole season drops all at once.
Or it like happens for them, Jacob, with like Tiger King because they get lucky because we're all trapped, and then they do the super desperate thing like 6 months later where they're like Tiger King Part 2, and you're like, no, we're all done with.
He's not even in it. Right.
Yeah, and
He's
I think
in
that's
jail.
the big mistake they made with Stranger Things. Like even the last
Yeah.
season of Stranger Things is like, why not space these episodes out a little bit? Like I feel like
that
it's all
would've
too
been
much
cool.
at
Yeah,
once.
Vought would never run an entire season of The Whole Truth in one go. They would do it weekly because they know
Or
that's
Dawn
better
of the
marketing.
Seven.
Dawn
My
of the
favorite
Seven
movie.
Night. Yeah. They'll do it week to week, whatever the series is that they have,
I'm starting to get mad when that director shows up. I'm like, get
Yeah.
out of here.
Yeah,
What
I
are
hate
you
that
still
guy.
I was okay with the amount of side cameo characters. I was hoping that one of them would die, not Ashley Barrett because she's too important to the boys.
Ashley is
but-
like an MVP character.
Yeah,
Yes.
the director
The
they
actor,
totally could have
yeah,
killed
incredible.
him. I think they totally could have killed him in the finale of this season.
I
and
thought
had
they
that
were
be a
going
funny
to.
thing.
They could have had a new
that
director.
guy, that poor guy. I'm sure his cameo would have taken a hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, geez. But yeah, that'd have been good. But I guess bring to round the whole plot again, right? So it's discovered that, yeah, there's been experiments and we've all been manipulated and this is fucked up. Our core team is kind of like, whoa, we've all been fucked with. And then now Kate is gone extreme. Sam was once softening up. He was working, him and Emma had a relationship. And I think that's a really good episode too. That was sweet to touch on.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, dog.
Just to recap, basically Andre recruits Emma because he finds out about the woods. He recruits Emma, who can get small, to kind of infiltrate and check it out. She meets Sam. They have like a little meet cute.
Got it. Get it. Good.
Yep.
Yeah. And I love that.
You're real.
And that was my favorite kind of relationship in this show, was just this Sam Emma relationship. And I was like, this is great. And
you say you're not the first tiny person I've talked to in this room, because he is schizophrenic. Like,
right.
Just,
he sometimes sees people as puppets.
Yeah. He meets TV's Jason Ritter.
Ritter.
He's very upset to see him, of course.
Yep.
That's right.
Where is all that going? I guess just again the cruelty. He's just being experimented on.
Yeah, and he's a very naive, because he's been locked up for years, and he was very easy to like convince later to join the Magneto side, basically.
But to be used nonstop, and they're like, but you drank one beer, and he's like, we're gods.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, like I guess that's easy enough. Okay.
But they break Sam out, and then there's a bunch of shenanigans. We should also say there's this other character, date rape superhero, who's basically can erase your memory. He's basically like a walking roofie. I think his name is Rufus.
I sort of how you're being like, this person means this. That is, if his name is
literally
Rufus,
like that,
that's
right?
incredible.
It is Rufus. Damn it!
No way. Is it really?
Yeah.
Rufus Roofy. That's
so my
good.
God.
And Marie, of course, has a run-in with him where she's talking to him, and then she blacks out. She wakes up in his room, and then explodes his dick off, which is very cool.
Now, that guy's walking around for the rest of this and has more scenes and stuff. Mike, does he get his dick healed?
I was wondering about that.
That's what I'm wondering, because he's going for the make soups great again rally. It's like, dude, are you okay? Like, I don't want you to be, but
you should be in the hospital.
You should be gone, man.
No dick.
But essentially, he's sort of a red herring.
No penis. Yeah.
Because this whole memory loss, basically, in the middle of this show, all our core cast loses their memory of the last couple days. They wake up at this party. Mm-hmm. They think it's this guy, Rufus, but really he's a red herring.
Hold on. Yeah. Here's what they do, Jacob. And this is kind of where I get a little bugged by the writing, where it seems like it really is very reliant on these twists. I don't know about you guys. I was never, caught off guard by any direction the show is going in. I was constantly like, yeah, of course, like the teachers are bad. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
This particular thing where literally they go like, hold on. Okay, we just woke up after a very weird night where all of our memories were erased. I don't think it was anyone here, but just in case, let's all go around now. Jordan, your power, of course, changing genders. You got this thing. Now, Kate, your memories, of course, are erasing everyone's memories. It couldn't be you. Now, of course, Sam, you've got super strength. Where you're just like, well, yeah, it's probably her, though.
I will say I didn't suspect her from the very beginning, because also they don't make the scope of her powers totally clear. Like, she can push people, but I didn't know that she could just like...
she eventually... We met the character Mindstorm last season, one of the former colleagues of Soldier Boy, who had the ability to send you to these, mindscapes and psychic dimensions and palaces. It's revealed she has that power and can actually push on you even without contact. I mean, she is an incredibly powerful psychic. She takes pills to limit her powers. Yeah,
Well, Shetty is manipulating her, and gives her those pills.
But in that scene, in defense of some of the writing, Colin, she does share that she had a similar experience with Rufus or whatever, and then didn't feel like she could talk to him. So she endears
try
herself
to get you off the set.
But to me, that was her. Yeah, that was I think that she probably made that up to try to like. Is that what you guys are thinking? That
That's what I don't know for
to
sure,
try to
but it
divert
could be a
attention away from her.
fabrication.
Yeah,
The guy tried to date rape Marie. I would assume he's tried to do it a bunch of
he might have,
times.
yeah, she
I'm
might
not
have
gonna
used
give
that
him the
story.
benefit of the doubt. Yeah,
Yeah.
it could have come from a true place. I don't know.
But that's
But
how
obviously
she
it makes
endeared herself
Andre
to
very
Marie.
angry. Yeah,
Threw them off her scent as a character.
yes.
Yes.
Anyway.
But I guess yeah.
Can I just say real quick on the conspiracy side, the other side of things, to our listeners who are maybe not thinking, watching this, like I don't think my father was going to, but eventually I was like, hey, check it out. You watch The Boys. That means this is in fact must watch for the next season. We get this benefactor storyline that's going on in the background. So while everyone else is sort of dealing with this, who's the psychic and stuff, and who's erasing our memories, and what's going on in the woods, our lead character Marie, who came from an orphan background because obviously the accident with her parents, she's trying to track down her sister.
Yes.
We know that she has this mysterious benefactor who supported her claim to get entrance at Godolphin University, and seems to be paying off all this. At one point, Dean Shetty says to the mysterious doctor in the woods, no, you can't experiment on Marie. She has this benefactor. That is revealed to be Vice President Victoria Newman, who we get the confirmation that her powers are she is a hemopath as well, despite the fact that she has those white eyes when somebody's head blows up. And the big mystery of, I think, season 2, right, was
who is
the head popper.
Yeah.
We get confirmation that is these powers.
Part
and
of her powers.
That blew my mind.
Yeah,
I don't
literally.
know about you guys.
Well, it's kind of it's foreshadowed a little bit
noggin.
with the dick exploding, where like what she can
Another
do a lot more with blood than she's kind of realizing. She can tell when people are about to have their periods or whatever. She can tell if there's something wrong with your blood.
There's a microchip under your skin. She senses that. Yeah.
She even says, sense the V in my blood. See if I have powers. Like Marie is that powerful. She can identify another suit.
And of course, yes, Victoria Newman from The Boys is sort of the AOC of the boys world, where she's this.
I forgot that you call her that.
That's what she is. Literally,
right.
Yeah. I mean, they have a guy that's basically Tucker Carlson of this world, who's like interviewing her at one point. It's very on the nose. But she's this very kind of leftist politician who's seen as like anti-soup, but secretly has powers and has secretly been doing the head exploding. So she has their own motives. But nobody knows she's a soup in the world except now, of course, Marie, which leads me to wonder what's going to happen in the second season, kind of thing.
Especially when we get to where we left off, but we'll hold still.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Marie kind of goes to her about the woods, right? Because
they
need to tell somebody. Yeah.
Hey, shut up.
But also we should say, so Dean Shetty, who's kind of orchestrating a lot of this behind the scenes, she has her own motives that are different than Vought. She's actually kind of using Vought within the Vought system to do her own thing, because Vought obviously does not want a unstoppable virus that would kill all soups. That's Shetty going on her own, vendetta, right? And we find out, of course, that her family was on that plane that Homelander failed to save and crashed, basically. So she has her own vendetta against soups just in general.
We thought she was the Elizabeth Shue. She's really the butcher.
Yeah. So she's, and that's what's so interesting, is that she's essentially has the same motives as the boys in The Boys. Like, she wants to stop the bad soups, but she's gone too far with it to where she wants to genocide all soups.
So then we get another Boys cameo when Jacob literally reaches out to the leader of the Boys and says, hey, I can help you guys. Let's do this. And they're like, you're crazy.
This is too far. You're talking about war crimes. You're talking about genocide. We don't do that. So
we do diabolical. We don't do genocide. Right?
Diabolical.
And then, of course, you have the doctor that she's working with to develop this virus goes to Victoria Newman, gives her the virus sample, and of course Victoria Newman kills him So we don't know what her motives are. So there's a lot of different individuals within this world that are kind of doing their own thing. We don't
She's
know what they're doing
had
yet.
a conversation with Homelander about how supes are superior, and it almost seems like again she's headed down the Magneto route. We know that she was an orphan as well. She says this to Marie, but we saw her background with Giancarlo Esposito's character, where he was sort of her patron back in the day and raised her up right, and she turned on Vought and all that stuff. Who knows? I mean, I watch it. I'm like, she is the ultimate wild card. I'm like, what are you?
She's like the most insidious character in the whole show because we don't know her true motives, and she's pretty much been shown to be evil many times. She only really has a soft spot for like Marie in this. We see a little bit in her daughter, right, in the boys. But
she has a daughter who she gave V to. Am I just remembering that, or was that Temp V?
What's that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but she had like a
maybe the daughter's a bloodbender too.
Yeah.
Would you like to have bloodbending powers? Let's just finally say it here. I would not.
I would.
I would too. It seems practical.
You guys are sick.
No, it's like Magneto, where you don't understand the true capabilities of his power. Because like Magneto, technically, he could take all the iron from your blood and control it, and like kill you very easily by doing that.
He does that.
I think it's just moving
X-Men
metal
2.
stuff, right? I think it's the same thing with the blood powers. You could pop heads. Pop dicks.
Don't do it. Don't pop my dick, please.
No,
please. I won't keep going to rallies after it happens to me. You'll never see me again. I'll kill myself.
Right. Jeez. Just somebody jump scares you and he accidentally explodes something. That would not be good.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Do not.
I'm really interested to see, like, not only what happens with Victoria Newman, but what happens with Marie in the future, because this is such a powerful power that she doesn't even realize the true scope of yet. Where you could literally just make someone's head explode. Like,
could she do it to Homelander? Is Homelander so
question.
strong? I guess that is. And Victoria has said that. She's even said.
Right.
Right. Are you trying to? Or he said, "Are you trying to pop me right now?" Or when they talked or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a good question. I guess we could say it all comes to a head, in the we're superior, the Brotherhood versus the X-Men finale here.
Yeah, so we have Sam has escaped from the woods and basically gets indoctrinated into the Supes or Superior cult within one day of meeting.
Just by having a beer. By doing like an
They had a slip and slide too.
Yeah, the slip and slide. He's like,
that's pretty cool. I don't know.
Humans
red pilled him.
Oh my God. Wow.
And of course, this history of being experimented on and that kind of thing. Again, hurt people. He was hurt by these scientists, so now he is going to take it out on every normal, non-super person because of what they did to him. So eventually him and Kate team up and say, you know what, we're not going to take this shit anymore. We're going to go Magneto. We're going to free all the prisoners in the woods who all have their own superpowers and all hate normals. And then it essentially descends into a school shooting metaphor.
Yeah. Oh,
they have a disclaimer at the top of the episode.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars.
Where you have this big incident where they're just basically going around saying, do you have superpowers? No? All right, you're murdered. And murdering every teacher or anyone on campus who does not have superpowers.
Hey, you know what's great casting? I was so happy that agent or whatever he was died. That guy, they revealed. In the second episode, one of the security guards pulls out one of those like noise makers, almost like the first Iron Man that like paralyzes you. And he says, Supes are like dogs. You hear it. You all hear a different audio frequency, right? So we're introduced.
That's
to
how they can control them.
Us humans can control these Supes with. So that douchebag guy pulls it out, stops one of the Supes, right? Gets it to kill himself or whatever. But then when Kate touched him, I was like, no. I was like, good, fucking smoke this guy.
Yeah.
Well, what was? Oh yeah, turn it on yourself. Yeah.
Yes. We're gonna do a live stream, is what she says.
Yeah. He's like, a social media guy. Eat your hands.
So Kate,
does some fucked up shit.
Again, Kate has sympathetic backstory and everything, but that she's gone fully kind of crazy and is like, we need to go Magneto
because the
on this
person
bitch.
who quote adopted her ultimate motive was to kill all super people. So it's like, damn, even my new mom hates
But
me.
then she did have a genuine love
You were
for
tricking
Kate
me.
because even at the end, she's like, I always did love you. And Kate's like, I know you're telling the truth there, but I'm still going to like kill you because you're evil.
Yeah,
that was tough.
that.
Yeah, and she basically tells herself to kill
What
herself.
did you guys think of and when she pushes too much, the strain? It's again, when we're in her brain, we're learning it's giving her micro strokes. Everybody's power gives you like strokes, basically. I don't
it's
like
almost
that
like
at all.
it's
But
unnatural. You shouldn't be
the
using your
bloody
powers.
eyes. I mean, what a fucking visual! At the end, when spoiler alert for the final cameo, when this guy named Homelander appears, and it is a bloody-eyed woman facing down, Captain America, Superman. I was like, this is fucking wild.
Well, just that series of events was crazy because you have Marie. So basically, it ends up on this whole battle, right? And towards the end, Kate is reaching out to touch Jordan, potentially to tell her to do something, and Marie sees that, instinctively blows up her arm.
Yeah,
so
blows her hand
arm
off.
Yeah. And then that's when Homelander comes in. And this is the most interesting thing, is that obviously Homelander, a wild card, but he comes in, you think he's going to like save the day or whatever. And he's like, how dare you
I don't know what he's
turn on your own kind. To Marie, right? Because he sees Marie blow up her hand and says, you never attack your own kind, which is also hypocritical because he's killed other superpowered people in the boys.
But this seems to be the agenda because I guess we're gonna go to the end. He's gonna laser blast.
Well, we're jumping ahead a little bit, but
it's just the end is they frame Sam and
no, they
Kate
frame
as the heroes. They framing device.
It's the opposite of what you think it would be. They frame the good people, the people that are trying to save people, which is Marie, Andre, and Emma, and Jordan. They frame them as the perpetrators, and they frame Kate and Sam as the heroes who stop them.
Yeah,
and they wake up, they're in this hospital room or whatever, and that's where it ends.
We had Marie is the guardian of Godolphin. No, actually, it was a couple of us. Okay, you and Jordan are the guardians of Godolphin, and then to end it, we get Sam and Kate labeled as the new guardians of Godolphin. And I guess, based on what is our redhead head of VOT called again? What is her name?
Ashley Barrett.
Ashley Barrett. And Ashley, this entire time during the school shooting, again, is a very serious kind of montage when it's a room of people kind of like hearing about it and being like, "Oh, let's all get on our cell phones." It felt very real. But she's kind of checking like who will be the new member of the Seven, and she in fact calls Marie and says like, "If you fucking figure this out, you're in." So maybe we're supposed to assume that either Kate or Sam is now a member of the Seven to end.
Well, essentially what happened is Homelander came in, probably stopped everything, but then they were like, okay, how are you going to frame this that makes Homelander look good?
How do we spin it?
And then Homelander was like, you know what? These guys kind of had the right idea. Let's protect Sam and Kate and frame these other soups as bad. Which is just really interesting.
Kate was trying to stop them rampage with her power when Marie savagely blows her hand off, and Jordan was beating Sam. It's like
because Homelander doesn't give a shit about people.
He thinks he's a god. Yeah, he doesn't care.
But I did love the board of directors or whatever that are at the school. And they're like, don't worry, we've got these sonic noises that'll stop all the soups. And then one of the soups breaks those, and then they're like, oh shit, we could for real die. And there's like that moment where Ashley Bear is like, wait, I could actually die here. I'm actually not safe. And it's like, it's some real shit.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I don't know if Ashley called somebody and said active super situation, but like that's what they're doing.
They bring in that helicopter.
Right.
And then, but it's just ironic that like the people that are actually trying to be heroes, it just proves you can't get ahead in this world as like a good person. Like a genuinely good person will always get shit on somehow. And that's what happens to our heroes at the end of this show.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that they were not dead. They're in this room with no windows. So who knows what's going on here? Experiments, I assume. Maybe it is the New Mutants situation now. But I'm excited
put
for
them
season
in
2.
A mind palace again. Yeah,
right.
I assume that they're like, it was Vought keeping them locked up now or something. They're gonna have to break out. But Marie did take a direct blast from Homelander's eyes in the chest and basically survive that. And they're like, anyone else would have been dead. So again, showing that maybe she's a lot more powerful than she is letting
But
on or even
durable,
realizes.
or just like there's a hole where her chest is now and she's just keeping the blood in?
I'm not sure. I mean, I guess she might have the ability to like self-heal through blood, right? If she can control the blood in her
Sure.
body, she can repair arteries or some
We've
shit.
yet to see the limitations.
Yeah.
She might have a healing factor too. But yeah, it's wild. Yeah, just like we see it happen to Huey. Like he wants to do the right thing, do it the right way, but even he has to be like, nope, I'm taking the temp V. We got to fucking play dirty.
Power corrupt.
Right.
Yeah, and like you got to get in the dirt with them because they're not going to play by the rules. That's how the boys universe works. You do the right thing and you get fucked. Yeah.
And those VOD executives that literally Andre and Marie and them are saving from the bad superheroes, they literally throw them on their bus first chance they get, right? And say Kate and Sam are
for
the real
better
heroes.
PR.
These people.
Yeah. So, man,
wild
it's real
show.
dark stuff.
So
yeah.
What is our final indication here with our final cameo, where of course we get the Butcher himself?
That's
kind
right.
of popping in.
That's
Is
right.
he
Boy.
at Vought? Is he outside of where they're being captured? I guess I didn't understand that outside of him just being like, and Butcher's here.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what that was supposed to signify. I was just
Okay.
like, oh, it's good to see you.
Hey, always happy to. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Even when
favorite,
Homelander shows
McCoy.
up, he comes in and you're expecting like he's gonna have some kind of speech or something. Instead, he's just like, "What kind of animal are you that attack your own kind and then just blast her?"
Yeah.
His presence, though, man. Again, Anthony Starr, like just being Homelander when he's like, "Oh, you're at a college. These people are not ready for you, dog." Like, it was very scared for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how
Well, I was going to say, we've been seeing our beloved Dr. Bones so much recently.
Mhm.
So it's not like it hasn't been a minute since we've seen him. But does he even say diabolical? Like, it felt
No.
very tacked on.
Oi, I'm here. It's after the
Boy,
credits.
You'll never guess. Yeah.
They took you to a warehouse in Burbank for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second unit.
But it's just fascinating how everything in this universe goes back to Homelander. Like even Shetty's plan is all because of course, her family was killed by Homelander. So at the end of the day, she's just trying to stop Homelander, and if she has to wipe out the rest of the soups at the same time, she's okay with that. Yeah.
Back to your point, Jacob, hurt people. She was the victim of an incredible tragedy, and her only resolve is, I will commit genocide. You're like, well, you could have learned something, a different lesson, perhaps.
We can break this cycle,
I thought,
maybe.
Yeah. And with certain current events that are going on in the world right now, it's very interesting to see parallels in this superhero show. It might sound stupid, but I just think like when you're talking about genocide and war crimes and two sides where it's like they're past reconciliation because they've both hurt each other so much, and it's just been this cycle of trauma and abuse and stuff. It's just like, man, it's like real shit,
Yeah. And yeah, it's like it doesn't stop till someone stops it, right? But yeah, sometimes it's hard.
Yeah,
and that's what the show is exploring with these themes and stuff that mankind is exploring internally, I guess.
So we'll definitely jump to final thoughts here, but just overall, satisfied with season 1? Do you want to see more? I'll just say real quick, I have found that the boys shows have had these kind of not able to land at season finales, but I thought this one really had some payoffs and kind of left this series where I was like, I'll be back. Sure.
I like this season finale a lot. I mean, again, the whole school shooting vibe and stuff was really crazy.
Crazy to
but with the boys, it seems like they keep, by the end of every season, the boys are like, well, we got to have another season of the boys, so we need some way to like keep the story going.
That's true.
My big fear now, Jacob, is that Eric Kripke, the creator of the show, has said out loud, well, it was originally forecasted for 5 seasons, but now I think the universe could go on forever.
No,
We're like, the promise of the first season is they're going to kill Homelander. Mike, eventually they need to kill Homelander.
Or Homelander just kills everybody else.
Yes, or the opposite.
Jeez, and then we get that forever. I for this series, and then I'll save my overarching for final. But for this series, I really, really liked it. I think that mid-season arc to rip all of our character development from us and they have to rediscover the mystery. It's like, dang it, they were so close to uncovering the truth. It was great. I do think it was
great.
A little rushed at the end, like getting Sam where he needed to be. Like that could have been, it felt a little quick to get to the finale.
Yeah, he was indoctrinated very easily. But again, he has the past of being experimented on for years by these scientists, so maybe it's not that hard to convince him.
He was pretty sympathetic with Emma. He seemed to be softening.
Yeah,
But this might be something I just don't totally understand, or maybe it's narratively written that it's important that our heroes don't understand this. But do they think it was just humans experimenting on them down there? Do they not realize that it was Vought that, again, is the people who created the superhumans? Is that why he at the end is like, I'm anti-human because humans kept me captive? Up here, the Soups, who didn't know about any of this, are cool and party. I'm a Soup. You're like,
well, I definitely think Sam, he's very naive. He's almost like a blank slate where you can kind of convince him of anything pretty easily because he's just was locked up for years, doesn't understand how the world works, so he doesn't even know about.
Let's talk about jacking off. That's his main thing. Is like if
he loves the movie Waterworld.
Inappropriate joke to talk about, he will talk about drinking his pee and jacking off.
But it's just interesting that Emma, who he kind of fell for immediately, wasn't able to like convince him that maybe he was going down the wrong path. But it all just happened so quick that he was sort of indoctrinated.
It just all went to shit real quick. But
I
guess it's also doing the thing like, hey, kids, be careful what like fucking people you're hanging out with in college.
Yeah.
These guys are cool. They're sledding down the hall, drinking beers.
Man. I love it.
It would have worked.
This guy's got no dick. Man. I don't know why.
Going to, you said he's Trump. He's running for president. We're going to a Trump rally after this. That sounds great, man. As long as there's beer.
Make mutants great again. Hell yeah, brother. It's like,
I mean, they're really not subtle about it.
No,
that guy's even wearing a red hat that says like "Make Soups Great Again" or something.
Yeah. What's wrong with that? They are great. Excuse me. And we didn't we get in the past season, didn't that guy in that black church scream out "Soups Lives Matter"? Right? Did we get another "Soups Lives Matter"?
We had that whole like you see the sort of the indoctrination of people who are like, Homelander's the best. He's like Captain America. He represents America, and then slowly just like be like, yeah, he's right. Fascism is great.
Laser people in crowds.
I could shoot somebody in the middle of Times Square. Like that's what Homelander did.
And they're even asking. They had this town hall right with the Tucker Carlson.
I'm just asking questions.
And one of the audience is like, we all saw Homelander kill someone like in broad daylight. Like, is he going to be held accountable for that?
Yeah.
And there's like, no, probably, probably not.
That's like,
we're gonna try.
Man, that's Jacob. Talk about going to a meeting or like a rally with AOC where you're like, hey, so like all that stuff in Georgia, like, is Trump going to jail? And for her to be like, we don't know.
We're trying. I don't know.
Doing what we can.
Like, oh my god.
But it's like, how do you govern someone who is literally stronger than anybody and is unstoppable and also like a sociopath and has no empathy?
So kill everyone and they would do it.
Yep. Wild.
Well, I can't wait for the next season of The Boys. Basically, is what I've left this show thinking.
And can I say this real quick? I saw somebody on the subreddit say, I want clarification. I don't understand this. Would you guys label this show as satire? And I thought, oh no. Like, sometimes I think this is incredibly good writing. It makes me super nervous how people do consume stuff now where they don't understand messaging at all. And the
100%.
number of times Eric Kripke has had to come out to be like, you guys keep using the word anti-hero for Homelander. I don't think you know what anti-hero means.
Right. He's just a villain. He's the bad guy. He has no redeeming quality.
Villain, yes.
But it's just terrifying. Like some people have very literal media literacy. And anytime you think satire is being very unsubtle, I promise you it's still too subtle for some people to pick up on. And then you have people who purposely understand, like, no, we know Homelander's like the bad guy in the show, but we still think he's like base.
But he says, but Cartman says what I think. I know it's a joke, but like he says it, and you're like, well, but you just admitted that it's wrong.
Right. It's like there's
Yeah.
there's a certain like Warhammer. There's a certain set of Warhammer fans that are huge fans of the Space Marines, which are like the fascist military empire dictatorship, right?
Yeah.
And then again, even in Avatar, there's some people that love the movie's Avatar, but root for the human colonizers.
Oh
and
God.
Like, we think the Quaritch is like such a cool guy.
Yeah, jeez. It makes me
Quaritch, my
sad that
favorite
a show that satires my real life is more hinting at how bad it really is in society. But
Yeah, but there's 100%
that's-
people that are like, yeah, we understand that the show wants us to think Homelander is bad, but we think Homelander is
I kind of like what he's about. Yeah, it's a good.
Yeah.
Point. Anyway,
It's like you are the people in the show. Like you understand that, right?
you don't get it. Yeah. Anyway, well, we definitely got, I think, what we wanted out of this season of The Boys spin-off Gen V season 1. So let's go ahead and get our final thoughts on all this stuff and wrap it up. Thank you all for joining us in the woods.
We're back here on Normies Like Us, where we have been talking Gen V. We've been shooting up. We've been taking our V. I took Temp V, so it's coming down. We're wrapping things up here with our final discussion. I'll throw out one of my last talking points here. We've said it before. We said it the last time we did an episode. The Boys has the best costume department in the biz. When you think about like Mother's Milk, you know exactly what he looks like. Those awesome, old school hip hop shirts, the fucking chain, he looks great. When you think of Huey, you think of like those band shirts that he wears. When you think of Butcher, you think of the fucking Hawaiian shirts and the duster. It's so distinct. It's so character driven. Right. The way that Gen V carries that over, and I'll shout out two in particular, Jordan's wardrobe being baggy unisex clothes. The fact that it's always loungewear that's too big so that she can fluctuate sizing in between it, and she keeps her whole wardrobe sort of androgynous and that look. I think that's incredible. Yeah. And then Emma's tiny shrinking different plastic wardrobe, where very clearly they make it look like these are Barbie doll shoes she's wearing when we're shooting her little. Everything looks like it's made of like plastic or linoleum or like whatever sort of like weird textured material. It's got those sort of like flat no imprints on her boots. Like that is what an eye to detail that is.
Yeah. I think some of these characters are really ingenious with the powers they came up with that fit their stories. Like Emma and Jordan are like two of my favorite characters because their powers fit into their stories so well in a way that is just so interesting that I haven't really seen done too much in superhero type stuff. Like X-Men, there's that like LGBT messaging of like you're different, so we don't like you and stuff, but it's more subtle than this, right? Yeah. And with Marvel MCU stuff, they don't really get into satirizing themselves too much, right? It's mostly just straight up like hero type stuff, right? So I really appreciate The Boys world just because it's more subversive. And Gen V, like I said, going into it, I didn't have any expectations. I was like a spinoff. I don't know. But it turned out to be really good. And I liked it.
Yeah, and to piggyback off Jacob's thought, like, Marvel will say being a superhero is hard because you don't get to hang out with your friends all the time or you don't get your homework done, right? Oh, no, right? It's not like having superpowers is difficult because my family fundamentally doesn't like who I am as a person now.
Right.
Like, that's a way different way to frame like the superpower stuff, and I like that Gen V is approaching it.
Or
in that
you
way.
you could inadvertently murder someone from your powers just by accident, and that happens all the time in the boys' world. That's not something
you Fallout.
In the MCU.
Or then you have just Breakfast Club, your parents telling you how you should be using your powers best and not letting you make your own decisions, kind of shit. Like they're covering a lot of ground with what types of issues they're dealing with that young people do face, in the modern era, and they're doing a great job, I think, of picking some of the ones that have been overlooked, let's say. So I really appreciate that in this superhero genre.
I really like the middle episode where they go into Kate's mind and it's like a full-length episode about them just dealing with their individual traumas. I thought that was really well done. And then the conclusion, I felt it was a little bit rushed, but I like where it was going. And I'm interested to see how this virus kind of makes its way into the boys show. If that, I mean, obviously that could have huge repercussions. And where this world goes from here. And I do wonder about the future of the boys with, if they did kill off Homelander, that would have to be the end of the show, right? Because you can't, to keep this universe going on after Homelander is like Homelander's such a interesting villain that everyone can kind of be against. Once that's gone, what do you replace him with? I don't know. So
nothing.
Yeah.
The boys is not the boys without the Homelander. Yeah, sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely But I definitely am excited for the new season of The Boys. I'm not sure when that comes out, but I'll be watching.
Yeah, I said at the end of 4, I think we did an episode on it. Go back and listen. It's like we need to stop at 5. I think we kind of arrived at like 5 seasons. Like we've done enough twists and turns with Soldier Boy. We almost got there. Like we gotta kill a Homelander. It has to be done. Is that the virus? I don't fucking know, but it needs to
Soldier
happen.
Boy was a great addition. And then even them getting powers and stuff, like they've done Billy and Huey getting powers already now. So it's like, where do you go from there? Unless they got permanent powers.
Which who knows? But yeah, I think 5 is good. It'll be interesting to see how the events of this tie into the next season. Like, is there
4? We've had 3. We're coming up on 4.
We need 4. Okay, yeah. So I think that's fine.
And they did say, I think that this, like the events of this happen like a few days before season 4 starts or something like that. They said, I don't know exactly, but it is definitely going to tie in. Yeah.
Last time we saw our Butcher, he was basically terminal because of the temporary V.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Basically, if you keep using it, you're going to die. Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost like there's repercussions.
I would assume that the show is going to end with mutual destruction, kind of where the Butcher and Homelander kill each other.
Ultimately highlighting that in the end of Revenge, start by digging 2 graves. That whole thing.
Exactly.
Nobody wins.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hopefully Huey and Starlight can have a good ending, and Kimiko and Frenchie, want good things for them too. But
yeah,
who knows?
And shout out to Frenchie's actor Joma Takore to check me on that, Mike. Yes, but an Israeli actor who unfortunately
Tomer Capone.
Thank you. Lives in Israel and is just going through the bad times right now. Might be drafted. So yeah,
we're all going through the bad times. The world, you could say, is going through the bad times right now.
Yeah.
And the boys' world certainly is going through the bad times in their world.
Absolutely.
So looking forward to more seasons of both real life and the boys.
I'm gonna shout out one more thing to the thing Jacob said all the way up top about the benevolent billion-dollar company that made this thing.
Yes.
We love you, Jeff Bezos, of course.
Keeps making these weird dark superhero things. Let me just talk a little bit about the weird culture streaming real quick to say I don't use Amazon Prime a lot. The app, which is why I called it Dusty earlier. I don't use the service at all. I'm actually incredibly anti their union busting and all that bad shit. Fuck you, Amazon, and destroying, trade in general, basically, and just ruining the world. Yeah. But to say there's a press tour going on right now where director Sofia Coppola has made that Elvis movie, Priscilla, about Elvis's wife, Priscilla Presley.
Right.
And she has been doing these numerous press tours and saying, I was making a TV show for Apple. They said the lead of my show was unlikable, so they canceled the show. And you have $1 billion tech industry corporation running a streaming service who is making super sanitized, we don't want to offend anybody, you can't say certain curse words, we can't hurt anybody, we can't do anything. The Apple model where your shows are like, well, the most popular show is Ted Lasso. And what's weird about Ted? He's actually kind of a nice guy.
He's just a nice guy.
Upbeat attitude. Yeah. Isn't that weird in this modern world? And then you have on the other side, which sucks. They all suck in the Godzilla meme. Let them fight. These two billionaires, let me tell you something. If Tim Cook and Jeff Bezos woke up dead tomorrow, I'm not losing a minute of sleep. So I'm not wishing ill on anybody if that happens. But to say, we have this one corporation who's letting Something I truly never thought I would see in my life. A little person ride a fully exposed penis and show it in
Right.
your program. It's
Yeah.
full frontal. I'm sure somebody whose fetish that was is going to be like watching that for the rest of their life, going like,
Yep.
wow, we finally got a live action representation of like a little person jacking a dick
I
off.
feel
That's
seen,
great.
I've
they
always
say.
wanted.
Yeah.
I finally have my grail.
They're representing
Uh,
everybody. Yeah.
but is bold enough to do that shit. I
Yeah.
mean, and lets that
Well,
shit go
balls
on
out.
there.
Yeah.
It's interesting because every one of these companies has its misses and its hits, right? Because Amazon, of course, had the Lord of the Rings show. Everybody hated that. So it's not 100% great. And then Apple,
Just to cut you off real quick, Jacob, but
yeah,
the bottom line for Jeff Bezos seems to be we will not mingle or interfere with any of the content because to us, it really doesn't even matter bottom line of like whether or not people view it or like it makes money or anything. We really just want you to sign up for the service
yeah.
versus Apple that you're
But then-
about to say.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Apple has a big win recently with Killers of the Flower Moon, where they're just like, we're gonna give Martin Scorsese all this money to just make whatever he wants. It's gonna be a 3.5-hour movie about reckoning with our own bloody history as a country. Of course, that's in theaters right now, so it didn't go direct to streaming, but just the fact that Apple's like, we'll produce this just to get our name out there again because it will be on.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, and Netflix did something similar with The Irishman, where they're just like, we're just going to throw money at Martin Scorsese and hope that he gives us something that we can kind of market. But every one of these countries, I mean, HBO Max has some of the best content to me in terms of its shows, but it's also run by like a huge asshole, David Zaslav, and has done a bunch of bad shit too. So it's like you can't win with any of these companies, right? At the end of the day.
Right. Not the conglomerates. We're getting close to the first corporate war, I think, on the cyberpunk timeline. I don't know whose side I'm going to be on.
City.
Probably none. I'm going to be with Butcher. We're going to get them all.
I just wanted it to go Shadowrun. I want a dragon to be president. I don't want to go Cyberpunk Red, Mike.
We're going Cyberpunk Red.
The way to go.
Red.
We're in Night
Mix
City,
my
right?
fantasy.
Shadowrun, I turn into a troll.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I need my sci-fi with a little fantasy.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get a bright type thing. Fairy lives don't matter.
God
today.
willing, you find a wand, Jacob. God willing.
We'll see.
Well,
hey, my man. No, sorry. Let's never bring Bright up again.
No, it's been referenced too many times. But superpowers, fantasy powers, cyberpunk powers, whatever. We don't have any of them, but we had fun talking about the soups of the World of the Boys and the Gen V spin-off show on this episode. I think it's great, and yeah, good job.
That's right. Oh, one last thing I wanted to say is that another reason why I didn't have high expectations going in is because I actually hated the name. Gen V.
Yes, I think it's a super bad.
It's a bad name.
That's a great thing to point out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what else you would have called it, but I just don't like Gen
brainstorm.
V as
what do
a
we
name.
got?
I mean, G1 is bad to just do. Godolphin University.
University. God you
is a better name, actually.
Yeah. But Gen V is just like, it sounds like the really over the top satire that the show would do, like in the show, like there would be a show within the show called Gen V or something.
Yeah.
Soupforia. Mike calling it
Soupforia.
Soupforia is hilarious. Yeah.
Pretty good.
You probably get sued. It captures the essence, but I don't know if we can use it. But yeah, Soupforia is how I would describe it to people.
Soupforia. God.
I was a soup fork watching it, so yeah. Gen V, the name, again, I said it up top, right? I was very cold, and now I'm very warm. Yeah.
But, and it's, here's what's incredible. Let's call this season 4 of A Boys Show. The reason we cover The Boys on Normies Like Us is The Boys is extremely normie. It's very popular and people really like it. And this show seems to be a hit too. So good work, Eric Kripke, and keep it coming as far as I'm concerned. I like the writing. I like the satirism. I understand that that's what it is. And I think it's some of the sharpest that's on television. I think back to our conversations where Jacob's just breaking down the meaning of Stormfront to me and stuff, where I'm just like, this is wild.
Holy shit. Yeah, I didn't even realize.
Crazy that this show goes this far. Yeah.
And having Seth Rogen, I think, right, kind of consulting too as like a producer, like I'm sure he got some of his ideas in there and stuff. He's a smart guy.
Yes. And sorry, real quick, just because Seth Rogen does the other show that we just talked about with Five Nights
Invincible.
at Freddy's, Josh Hutcherson. No, I was gonna say he does that Hulu show, the Future Man.
Oh, right.
Mike, you took your name. Let's just shout out Tech Knight real quick. Tech Mike. The Tech Knight character in the comics has a brain tumor and is obsessed with fucking things with holes in them. To literally adapt that into the show is insane.
That is incredible.
And his monkey paws power is that he has this brain tumor, but he can also, that allows him to have, he's basically like Sherlock Holmes, I guess.
Daredevil,
where he can just
with eyes,
notice things really well.
Yeah.
So
notice your pupils dilating, super perception. But I did think when they were like, we got to go to someone we can trust, I thought they were going to go, all right, Tech Knight, we got a story for you.
You
want to make it in the big time?
That too.
Yeah,
yes, I thought he would fuck it up then. And to shout out, that's Derek Wilson. He's from that show,
Wilson.
Future Man, that Seth Rogen made as well.
So the Kripke Rogen universe, one of the go-tos. He's there, Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah.
Just need to get Jared Padalecki in the new season.
I was talking to some people who like Supernatural. It seems like no one in that world likes him anymore. So very interesting, Jacob. Something went wrong there. He became Walker, Texas Ranger, of course.
Right, of course. He fought Jason that one time.
He fought Jason.
That was before he reunited with, his brother.
Right.
It's just the adventures of Sammy.
Sammy.
All right.
All right. We've been talking Gen V. Thank you, Normies. We hope you're shooting up. If you did, write in. Let us know what superpower you got at Normies_like_us. Watch along on YouTube as well. We love it. Helps us out a lot. Rate, review, subscribe to the podcast. Thank you. And we have been your hosts. This is Little Colin.
This will be Mikey Marie. Blood Power.
Oh.
And this is Coblander. The best.
Hey,
all right.
Is it true that you're the Coblander and you can do whatever the fuck you want?
That is true.
That's pretty cool. Makes my blood boil, but just don't laser me.
No.
All right, catch your laser, Normies.
All right.
Bye,
Normies. Bye-bye.